Hello everybody, this is Gary Hallican here, and today we are taking a look at a couple of the Figma Archetype Next She figures. We've got the flesh color version here, and we have the gray color version here. Of course, these are going to be fakes though. These are came from China, and I bought them for a very low price, and I'll show you some of the ways that we can tell that these might not be just quite the real thing. There's a few indicators of that I'll show you in just a minute, but they are pretty nice for the price I paid for them. Speaking of that, that's probably the first indicator of their fakeness, the fact that I paid about $6.50 each for these, as opposed to the 40 or 50 or so you would pay for the real thing from Japan. So we're going to get these out of the way and take a look at the packaging first, because that's going to give us some of our first indicators of not quite rightness, and then we will take a look at the figures and all the things they can do. I'll note right now that unfortunately they don't actually come with any rifles or swords, but as you can see, they're able to hold various other random weapons. I'm sure everybody's got a bag of random old G.I. Joe and He-Man weapons, right? So you can get some of those out and get your Figma archetypes to hold those, and we will talk more about that in just a moment. Okay, so here is the package that the gray color version came in. So these figures come on a card, and fortunately though, there's no glue or anything. The card will just slide out. So they've got the collector in mind with that. You can see it just slides out there. This package for the gray color figure looks pretty good. It says Figma on it. It says Max Factory in a couple places. Actually comes with a little instruction sheet. Everything looks right on the back. A little bit damaged just from the shipping, and the seller did put a couple pieces of tape on it, but that's okay. But otherwise, this one looks pretty good. However, things start to get a little bit fishy when we look at the other one. So my flesh color figure came in this package. Now this package is almost the same, but it claims to be the 15th anniversary color version. Now the 15th anniversary color version of this figure is actually bright orange. So my flesh color figure here was in the wrong packaging. And some other things about that were one of the hands was off of the hand tree in the package. Now that could be just, because it got jostled in shipping, or that could be, as I suspect, because this figure was randomly put into a package and was put into the wrong one. It also didn't come with any instruction sheet either. The anniversary packaging doesn't have any pictures of the figure on the back either. So it is unpunched though, so that's kind of nice. But that's a first indicator that maybe not everything is quite on the up and up with these. So that's what the packaging looks like. Next we'll take a look at the figures themselves. So here are the figures as they come right out of the package, and I think these are pretty good. There are some cool things about them. They are very simple figures. As I understand it, these are meant to be either like artist mannequins or meant for customization purposes. And I do have some customization plans for them in the future. But to that end, they are very simple. They have no paint at all, and they have only a very tiny amount of detail. They have a face with eyes, nose, and mouth, ears. When I try to bring it close to the camera, it won't focus on that at all, so I'm going to cut in a still picture of the face right here so you can see the detail there. And they have a little bit of ab detail. I'm going to put in a picture of that as well. But that's pretty much it as far as detail goes. Other than that, they are very plain, very simple. They do have some strange things about their looks, though. They have kind of thick wrists and ankles. Kind of throws off the realism a little bit. I don't think a real person has that thick of wrists and ankles in proportion to the rest of them. They also have some weird gaps that are kind of unsightly in certain poses. They serve their purpose for the articulation, which we'll see in a little bit, but in some poses they just don't really look good, especially here in the shoulders, some big gaps right there, and most egregiously in the back. So you've got a very bad gap right there in the back, and that does throw off the realistic nature of these a little bit. But then again, I actually don't really see all that many nude women on a regular basis, so what do I know? Maybe they do have big gaps in their shoulders, and these figures are totally accurate. Other than that, though, I think they look pretty good. I don't have any versions of the original Figma Archetype She, but having seen all the pictures of it, I think I like the look of these a little bit better than that one. As I mentioned, we're going to look at some other indicators of possible bootleggery afoot, and some of those indicators are the fact that these figures aren't exactly the same. From what I understand, they are supposed to be the same, just different colors, but they're not. There's a few things that are different. First off is the feel. The flesh color version has a very sort of glossy plastic feel to it, kind of your regular plastic feel. The gray version is a lot tackier. You've got a lot of a tackier feel to it. Also, they have a few different parts. So as you can see on the gray version, it looks like the neck is quite a bit longer than on the flesh colored version. It's because the gray version actually has a completely different neck piece. It causes her head and neck not to fit down in quite as well and makes the neck look very long and longer than it should be. It's a little bit unnatural looking. They also have completely different feet. So the flesh color version has articulated toes, so we can bend the toes down, kind of like that. The gray color version has solid feet. The toes don't bend at all, so completely different feet. And they also have different stands. So the base for the flesh color version is kind of the frosted plastic there. The base for the gray color version is completely clear, so you can see right through. You can see right through it there. The arms are a little bit different too. So on the flesh color version, I have the arm plugged directly into the back without the extra little adapter piece that it comes with. Here with the gray color version, you have to use the extra little adapter piece. The regular peg on the arm is much too large to fit into the hole on the back of the figure. So they have different arms for the stands as well. Some of the other things that indicate bootlegness or knockoffery, is that a word? I'm making up new words as we go. Or you see a lot of air bubbles in the plastic for the stand arms there. So that's something that indicates that. And so I think these are, we can definitely say these are fakes, but they're pretty good. They are quite a bit better than the other fake Figmas I have. I also have a Captain America that you'll see in a little bit when we do size comparisons. And he has a very loose torso joint and his face likes to fall off all the time. I also have a bootleg Asuna from Sword Art Online, and she looks very nice, but her hair falls off if you breathe on it. So these two figures are quite a bit better than those other fake Figmas I have. The joints are a lot sturdier. They don't flop around as much. They don't have as much gapping, actually. So they are a little bit better, and I'm happy for that. We're going to take a look at the Articulation next, and I'm going to use I think the flesh-colored version to do that. And I'm going to be a little bit ginger with them as we look at the Articulation, because as you'll see with my Captain America, I did break an arm on him, and I'd broke an arm on the fake SH Figure Arts Batman that I have, so I don't want to break any of the pieces. That's one thing you have to think about if you're going to buy the bootleg figures. The joints usually aren't as sturdy. So we'll take a look at the Articulation next. So these figures are really nicely articulated, which of course is one of the main selling points for these figures. We can get a lot of neat poses out of them. So we're going to see some of the things we can do with them, starting up at the top. If we use just the head joint, so you can look up about that far. Can't really look down at all using just the head, not until we involve the joint at the base of the neck there. So you can tilt her head side to side a little bit, and of course we can twist it around whichever way we want to go. The neck joint helps us get a lot more movement out of the head. With The inclusion of the neck joint there, we can look up a little more. We can look down a really long way, so you can look down that far. We can tilt from side to side a little bit more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. And so we can get pretty much anything we want to out of the head. A little bit of the chicken motion there as well. So we've got really nice movement in the head and neck. The torso joint right here is very, very good. Unfortunately, when we move it any kind of distance, we're going to get a big gap, but we can get a lot of movement out of it. So we can ab crunch about that far forward, so really good ab crunch. We can bend backwards a really long way, so we can bend backwards that way. Of course, you see you get a huge gap in there. You can't really bend backwards very much at all if you don't want to get any gap. We can tilt side to side quite a bit as well at the torso, and we can, of course, twist at the torso. The chest piece is a rubbery, soft, rubbery type material, so it can move pretty much any way that you want it to. The shoulders, despite having this big gap here, are actually pretty nice articulation-wise. Because of that gap, you can get the arm to come forward quite a bit, forward and across. So you can have her punching out forward or have her put her arm across, kind of like that. The shoulders don't really go back at all, so you can't really get them to go back very far. They do go up a long way, so we can get the arms to go out, and if you pull them out a little bit, we get them to go up almost all the way. So we can get the arms to go up a really long way. Of course, they do turn all the way around, just like that. At the elbow, though, is not quite as good, unfortunately. The elbow, you only get just a little bit past 90 degrees. With the elbow, you can, of course, twist at the elbow like that. The wrists, I find, should be better than they are. I think it's because of the shape of the wrist parts there. Makes the hands not really move as well as they should. Of course, they can twist all the way around, and they can bend a little bit. I think they should be able to bend a little bit more than that, but again, because of the design of the wrist, I think it kind of hinders that a little bit. But we can get some really good things out of the arms. There is a joint right here at the waist, but I find you can't get a whole lot of movement out of it. Just a little bit forward and back. You can get some good side to side out of the waist joint there. And I guess you could. You can't really twist it very much either. The hips, though, are very nice. With the hips, we can bring the legs all the way forward for a nice kick like that. They can go back. They can't go back a really long way. They go back pretty good amount there. If you kind of twist them to the side, so you can swivel here at the hip. If you swivel it a little bit, you can get the leg to go back a little farther. They can go out about that far. So she can't completely do the splits, but she can come pretty close. So we've got very nice movement in the hips. The knees are a little bit interesting. Here on the flesh color version, I can only get 90 degrees with the knees. We get 90 degrees with both knees. Actually, the right knee doesn't bend quite as far as the left knee does. On the gray color version, however, if we bring her in here, the knees have a lot more bend to them, so we can get that far with the knees. And from what I can tell, the joints look to be pretty much the same. I'm not sure why that is. I'll have to take a little bit closer look, but we get a lot more bend on the knees with the gray color version. Finally, we have the feet. The feet can point up about that far. They can point all the way down, so if you're going to do some ballet type poses, you can do those. They don't have very much tilt side to side at the ankles. You can't really get much of any tilt in. You get a little bit there, and you get a little bit out, not a whole lot. They can, of course, twist all the way around like that. And the flesh color version has the articulated toes that the gray color version doesn't have. So we've got a lot of really good articulation going on. We can get a lot of good poses, and of course we will finish up this review with some dramatic poses. Before we do that though, let's look at the accessories next. So because of their simple nature, these figures don't come with very many accessories. They both come with the regular Figma hand tree, but they only have 2 extra pairs of hands. So we have these open hands, right there, open hands. And then we have these hands that are kind of a cross between a holding things hand and a trigger finger hand. They have the index finger out just a little bit as if it's kind of a trigger finger. Unfortunately, they don't come with anything to hold with those hands, but we can get them to hold various different things. They do have a little bit of give to them, so even though the opening in the hand is very small, they do have a little bit of give, so you can get them to hold different things. For instance, here is the high-grade V2 Gundam's beam saber, and so we can get them to hold that pretty easily. Just kind of fit it in there. Again, the fingers have a little bit of give to them, so we can do that, and they can hold basically whatever you want as long as it has small handles on it. They also can, of course, switch hands with other Figmas pretty easily. So as you can see here, she has no trouble using Captain America's shield holding hand. It fits right onto the wrist peg and works really well. So dig out your old bag of excess guns and swords and that kind of thing, and you can get a lot of fun stuff going on with these figures. As for other accessories, of course, they come with the regular Figma stand and the little adapter piece for going on the end of the stand, and that's it. That's all they get accessory-wise. So really, that's kind of nice because it leaves it open to your imagination. We can do whatever we want with these. So those were the accessories. Next, we'll look at some size comparisons. So for size comparisons, here are the Figma archetypes with the aforementioned bootleg Captain America. So you can see he's a lot taller than them, about a full head taller than them. He's also a lot thicker. If you look at the arms and the torso and so forth, he's a lot thicker. So they are a lot smaller figures compared to the Figma Captain America there. You can see he is missing his broken left arm, which he doesn't need right now anyway because the Figma archetype is using his shield. Here they are also with a standard 12-ounce beverage can, so you can see they are a little bit taller than that. And as always, here they are with John Cena. So Cena there towers over both of these women, so I would say they're probably not in scale with him, but they are still pretty good size figures. So overall, I'm really happy with these. I think they look pretty good. They're a lot better than the other fake Figmas that I have, and the possibilities are limitless with these figures. You can do basically whatever you want with them. So I would say for somewhere between $6 and $8, maybe even up to 10 or 15, these would be a great deal. So thank you for watching. If you feel so inclined to do so, please like and subscribe. And as always, we're going to finish this review with some dramatic poses.